Good evening, William Min here, 1799. Glad you could come around. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and let's get into this a little bit. This is a safety issue, in my personal opinion, of what I found. Everybody has their own opinion, and like I said, it might be something I want to look into. I carry a 1911 A1 Colt 45 full frame. We're allowed to have our permits. We're allowed to carry. I qualify with it. Of course, it's like a dinosaur compared to most firearms, but it still did what it had to do. But if I found it to be more cumbersome, because in today's world you need something a little more modern, a little more quicker to operate, easier to operate in a tight situation. And the instructors kind of brought me into that world. So I went to my FFL, a good friend of mine at the gun shop, talked to him about what I'm looking for. I didn't take care to Glock too much, but he introduced me to Sauer, which the military is carrying, and they adopted. I picked up a P320 10mm X generation, full frame. Did the paperwork, the FFL, paperwork, background checks, paid all the fees and all bells and whistles to go with the government. Took it home, cleaned it, functioned it, make sure everything was all right. Took it to the range. I shot 200 rounds out of it. Not a problem. Period. Satisfied with it. I had to get a little more adjusted to it because I'm so used to the 45. Short story short, went out and bought a holster for this thing. Now, I had gotten one of these type of holsters that fits various amounts of models of firearms. Brought it home, put my firearm in it, pulled the mag, cleared it and everything, put the firearm in it, put it all together, did the adjustments, all the screws. You know, this is a leather holster, by the way. Did the adjustments of the screws, adjustment of the trigger, the whole 9 yards. A good retention on it. Tried it out. Okay. A couple days later, I'm working with it, trying to get a good adjustment out of it, and I went to take it, and the trigger went off. Okay, that ain't good. So I was supposed to do that. Took the whole firearm apart, go through it. Couldn't find anything wrong with it. Reassembled the entire firearm again. Didn't have a problem. No issue. Okay. I'm going to take this firearm to qualify for my carrying permit, or add it to the other ones I have. But I want to make that my main carrying firearm permit. So I went, put it on, tried it a couple times, no problem. I figured I'll get used to carrying this thing, so I left it on my side. I'm doing some work around the home, moved the heavy box and some furniture around, cleaning it up, you know. And I actually hit the corner of the closet door where the knob is, and it went off. I was supposed to, but it went off. Okay. So I took it off, looked at this thing. I'm thinking about something wrong. It might be wrong with the firearm. I'm assuming this might be the problem. So, put it in the holster, put it on the table. There tonight, went to bed. Couldn't figure out, you know, it was bothering me. Next morning, went to the shop, Took the firearm with me, grabbed a rubber mallet, recycled it, get the trigger set, and hit it with a hammer. Rubber mallet, in other words. So I'm hitting this thing. Hitting it all sides, back, corner, on the top of the slide. Didn't go off. Even threw it on a table. Didn't go off. Okay, so I can't figure this out here. So I'm trying to reproduce this thing so when I take it to the shop, they can see it, hear it, and understand it, and maybe their recommendation will probably send it back to the factory. Wouldn't do it. So after about 30 minutes of trying this out, I can't figure out what's going. So that late, at home, put it in the holster, threw it on the table, and it clicked. Well, how'd that happen? Pulled it out of the holster, looking at this holster, and I'm thinking about, what if this holster is the issue? What if this holster somehow is triggering this firearm to go off? Maybe it's not sitting in the holster right. Maybe it's tension on the trigger. Who knows? Because it's got a set trigger on it. You set it to this point, and then you can pull the rest of it and go off. It's a possibility. I would like to bring the firearm up here, show you, but the problem here is I'm afraid YouTube would have a heart attack. So anyway, I thought about it, looked online. I said, you know what? I'm going old school. Just like my 45, I used a leather holster that I purchased. So for this 6 Sauer, I bought this holster. It's got thumb brake, good holster, works great. Qualified with it, no problem. Never had issue. Even was running around with it, no problem. So later, I turned around and I bought me another holster. This has the trigger retention in here. It's molded to the firearm. The trigger is completely covered. So the only thing you see is the slide, the handle. All this is all covered. Now my one that I had purchased that has all these different models of fits on it, there's all these screws down here, a couple here, retention screws here, and screws to make this thing fit just right here. Okay, so the firearm fits snug or whatever. This doesn't have, it's a regular plain leather holster. It's tight, has retention. Never had a problem with it. I practiced with it, qualified with it, no problem. I've done a few tests with it by taking the mag out, clearing it, set the trigger, throw it on the table, no problem. One day I decided to just get bold and shove it off the table and see what happened. It still didn't go off. So I'm assuming that the holster was the issue. So I know the law enforcement has holsters that are set a certain way. Now, there's some instances where I was listening to Guns and Gadgets, which I really like to listen to Jared because he gets a lot of information up for the two-way groups. And he talked about recently, you can get him on your thing, you can describe them. But he's talking about these firearms going, the 6 Sauer going off on its own without touching the trigger. But each instance he talked about, these firearms were in the holster. Law enforcement has a holster that you just can't walk up and grab that, pull it out. You just can't do it. There's a certain way that it's like a trick holster. There's a certain way you have to have a release on it to pull it out. So there have been other instances where a soldier was on guard duty, had his holster, video shows it that it went off on its own. So all I can say is they ought to check the holsters. It's just a good possibility that may be the issue. I'm not saying it is the issue, I'm saying it's a possibility. Now, when I had just recently, before I got rid of that holster, I noticed something. When I had put when I put it in there, when I did the adjustments on that holster, all right, I had good retention. I noticed something that one day I didn't even notice it before, and it was probably when it's on your side, your hip. The slide wasn't completely level where it should be. It was up like this. I say maybe like 2 pieces of paper high, like maybe a real slight. And it is possible that probably there was tension on the trigger, and it tapped it. It went off. It's a possibility. I readjusted that holster so the thing slide in right way. And like I said, I had issues with that holster. I didn't like it. I said this was a safety issue. I got rid of it. Now I've been having this here holster for 4 years. I never had an issue with that firearm. So those guys out there who buy these holsters, my recommendation is, I guess, watch your adjustments. So make sure it's not too tight. Your trigger retention, make sure it's not too tight. All I can tell you, me, I just went old school, like my 45, the regular leather holster, and it's been really great. As far as the firearm, I haven't had a problem with it. I've shot thousands of rounds in it. I take it down, I shoot it 2 or 3, 4 times a year. Practice with it. I fired all kinds of rounds out of it. I haven't had an issue with it. If you get on Guns and Gadgets, he'll tell you he has 5 of them things, and he shots thousands of rounds of them, no issue. But he has a good video where it talks about these firearms going off in people's in the holsters of these firearms, which is interesting because that's what I had. So I'm assuming that could be an issue, something with the holster. But then again, that's my personal opinion. Don't take my word for it. As a mechanic, as an aircraft mechanic, a diesel mechanic, and I restore Jeeps. I love Jeeps. Every once in a while, when you run into a mechanical problem, sometimes you have to look where the problem is. It may not be where you think it is, but you got to find out what's causing it, so it doesn't happen again. So you have to look for it. That's in anything we do in life. So check your holsters. That's all I can tell you. Check your holsters. Make sure the firearm's sitting in properly. I don't know what else I can tell you. But I would look at that before I would look at the firearm issue. It is, like I said, it can happen. So all I can tell you is, be aware of it if it's an issue. Till then, keep your friends and family close. Practice, practice, practice. And do not be afraid to defend yourselves. And I hope if you do carry a firearm like this time, check your holster. Till then, you take care.